whack 'em. Pay for that casket. That's just if we whack 'em. Glock will insist.
After a year and a half of incarceration, bond denials, jury selection, and motion hearings, Young Thug, the big King Slime out of Atlanta, has finally began his YSL RICO trial. The first few days were off to a super rough start, with prosecutors giving their opening statements portraying Young Thug as a mafia kingpin, similar to John Gotti. You know, he's responsible for guns and drugs being sold in the community and multiple murders, who's also ordering his subordinates to kill, steal, and rob and assault anyone he chooses. In this trial, they leaked incriminating text messages, showed song lyrics, and actually showed a juror member on camera. Although in May of 2022, they originally arrested 28 people, this trial only has 6 defendants, with Young Thug being the most famous. A big part of this trial was degrading Young Thug's character based off his criminal past, and the judge went through all 8 of his charges.
The criminal case of the state of Georgia versus Jeffrey Williams. The Fulton County Grand Jury has indicted the defendant Jeffrey Williams for the following crimes, which I will now read to you. Conspiracy to violate the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act. Participation in criminal street gang activity. Participation in criminal street gang activity. Violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Violation of Georgia Controlled Substances Act, possession of a firearm or commission of a felony, and possession of a machine gun.
The trial is projected to last a couple months going into the new year. Jury selection in this trial took almost a year because nobody wanted to be a part of this tedious trial. Now the judge gave the juror pool a thorough rundown of the court proceedings.
Each of the defendants have pled not guilty to this indictment, and each of them deny every charge in it. This indictment and the defendants' pleas of not guilty present the issue that you've been selected and sworn to decide. The indictment is the way the defendants are charged with committing crimes that violate the laws of Georgia. The charges in the indictment and the pleas of not guilty are not evidence of guilt, and you may not conclude the defendants are guilty based on the charges or the not guilty pleas. Each of the defendants is presumed to be innocent until individually proven guilty. The defendants begin the trial with a presumption of innocence in their favor, and this presumption stays with them until it is overcome by the state with evidence that convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendants are guilty of the crimes charged. You may not convict any one of the defendants of any crime unless each element of the crime is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden of proof is on the state to prove every essential element of the crimes charged in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendants have no burden at all, and the burden never shifts to any one of the defendants to prove his innocence.
Now, in order for Thug to be convicted, they must find him guilty on at least one of his 8 charges beyond reasonable doubt. Now, this is a relatively high threshold considering that his charges aren't anything serious other than weapon possession and substance abuse.
A reasonable doubt means just what it says. It is the doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror who is honestly seeking the truth. It is a doubt based upon common sense and reason. It does not mean a vague or arbitrary doubt, but is a doubt for which you can give a reason based on a consideration of the evidence or a lack of evidence, a conflict in the evidence, or any combination of these.
When it comes to reasonable doubt is such an important thing. To easily put it, if there is still some doubt in your mind that Young Thug committed these crimes, you must deem him not guilty.
After considering all the facts and circumstances of this case, if your minds are wavering, unsettled, or unsatisfied, then that is a doubt of the law, and you must find the defendants not guilty. But if no reasonable doubt exists in your minds about the defendant's guilt, then you may convict the defendants. If the state does not prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, your duty would be to find the defendants not guilty.
The judge is doing a very thorough job, letting the jury pool know what criteria needs to be met for them to be convicted, and if not, it proves that there's some reasonable doubt. So the state prosecutor began her opening statement by planting the seeds to the jury that Young Thug, King Slime, has been a gang leader and gang affiliate for decades. He's using his musical success to fund gang activities and essentially run a criminal enterprise, the Rock Crew, which turned to YSL.
The group made up of the defendants sitting before you today, along with other both indicted and unindicted co-conspirators, YSL operated for 10 years and counting. The group calling itself Young Slime dominated the Cleveland Avenue community of Fulton County. They created a crater in the middle of Fulton County's Cleveland Avenue community that sucked in.
As we expected, she went more in detail explaining about how YSL and the Rock Crew was a subset of Bloods and the effect of gang culture in urban communities.
This is going to show that this group started out as a group called Rock Crew, and Rock Crew stands for Raised on Cleveland. The evidence is going to show you that Rock Crew, in fact, is a criminal street gang. It's not the kind y'all used to. If you're more familiar with the national gangs, such as the Bloods and the Crips that operate in LA or in Chicago. But make no mistake about it, Rock Crew is and was a gang. It consisted of 3 or more members with common identifiers, signs, colors, linguistic choices that committed crimes on behalf of and in furtherance of Rock Crew itself.
The prosecutor further elaborates how Young Thug and YSL is a subset of Sex Money Murder, which is a New York gang of Bloods, and how basically migrated to Atlanta, and how his subset replaces B's and C's, such as how Bloods don't say, cookies, and basically things of that nature that start with C.
That particular organization aligned itself under an umbrella of a larger, more traditional street gang called Sex Money Murder Bloods. They adopted the nomenclature. They would do things like replace C's in words with the letter B, because traditionally Crips and Bloods were not aligned with one another. So Cleveland Avenue became Cleveland. The evidence will also show that sometime in 2012 or thereabouts, an internal rift or divide occurred among the members of Rock Crew. Now, the defendant Jeffrey Williams, seated back there yawning right now, he was an original member of Rock Crew.
While concluding her closing arguments, the prosecutor made a mistake, shifting the burden of proof. It's the prosecutor's job to prove that Young Thug and the 5 other defendants are guilty, not the defendant's job to prove that they're innocent. So the judge had to step in here.
What you will not hear is that the defendants were not involved in a criminal street gang. You will not hear any evidence that they did not commit crimes on behalf of YSL.
Let me object to that statement, please, as burden shifting.
Basis?
Burden shifting, and under Parker versus the state.
So here's where she messed up. She said you will not hear any evidence that they did not commit crimes. Now in layman terms, what she's saying is all the evidence we have on Young Thug, which is negative, will prove he committed crimes. The prosecutor's job is to sway the jury with the truth regarding the case, not a persuasive statement discrediting the defense. She sort of lost credibility with that amateur mistake, and she went immediately to hammer Young Thug and his defense about his incriminating and crime-provoking rap lyrics. She sort of lost a bit of her credibility and wanted to redeem herself by immediately hammering Young Thug and his defense teams with his incriminating and crime-provoking lyrics.
He tells you, as the evidence will show, take this shit to motherfucking trial. I rep my life for real. For slimes, you know I kill. Trial, I done beat it twice. I'm undefeated, like feds came and snatched me. I don't know, no point in asking. I was on what? Bleeding. Stuck like a magnet. Bitch ass nigga. I shoot at your man, you need to stand down. Take it to trial. Yeah, you're gon' whack him. Pay for that casket. That's just if we whack him. My young niggas pull it up. Bentleys, Aston Martins, where's the Teslas? Strap with an effing Glock with an assist.
During the first day of trial, Young Thug's lawyer made a motion for a mistrial because the prosecutors didn't hand over all their evidence that was going to be used against them. Seeing how long it took for the trial to start, the motion was quickly denied. Now Brian Steele is the lawyer representing Young Thug, someone who I'll go into further detail about in more videos. The second day, Brian Steele came out and gave his opening statements, talking about the abuse of power with law enforcement that Young Thug watched his family experience growing up, speaking on what led to his rap name and also who he idolized.
Jeffrey was born on August 16th of 1991. We are now August 13th of 2000. Jeffrey's older brother, they call him Beanie. He was 20 years of age, 11 years old in Jeffrey. He's shot in the chest. He collapses outside, not far from Jeffrey's apartment. Jeffrey and his family come out. They're praying over Beanie. It's going to be okay. There's help on the way. 911 was called. And what seemed forever, when the police finally did arrive, they didn't go immediately to Beanie. They had to push back the crowd. Jeffrey's mother was hysterical. She was screaming for her child to survive. The police handcuffed Jeffrey's mother, put her on the ground. When they finally went to Beanie, put a sheet over his face. Beanie was dead to the police, even though his chest was still going up and down.
The lack of respect law enforcement had for his brother, leaving him there to just die when they could have saved him, turned Young Thug sick. And Brian still explained how growing up in Atlanta and in poverty, the options were extremely limited and why he started rapping.
Jeffrey believed that the only two ways he can break the generational hopelessness and despair for his family, himself, and he wanted to break it for as many people as he could who were in this struggle, was to be a professional athlete or an accomplished musical artist. Jeffrey chose the latter. And from that day forward, every week, every month, every year, to this day, Jeffrey practices to make himself a better musical artist. In Jeffrey's neighborhood, rap is a subset of hip-hop. Gangster rap is a subset of rap. That was the most popular music at that time. So Jeffrey sought to find out how can he accomplish his mission, be a successful rapper.
Brian still did a very great job of humanizing Young Thug as a person, Jeffrey, explaining how he's won multiple awards and he's worth tens of millions of dollars, so why would he still live a life of crime?
Jeffrey's worth tens of millions of dollars. Jeffrey Williams has been nominated and won and recognized MTV, United Kingdom, American Soul Train Music Awards. He is a Grammy Award winner, XXL Awards, BET Awards, Billboard Music Awards. Every single year since 2014, that's what he has accomplished. He is not sitting there telling people to kill people.
Although Young Thug's not charged with murder in this case, it's still a big thing they're trying to connect him towards. Now they're trying to say that Young Thug ordered the hit on Donovan Thomas, aka Peanut. Now Peanut was an affiliate of YFN, YFN has YFN Lucci, and YFN Lucci and Young Thug simply don't get along, and they diss each other and said multiple bad things about each other in public. Now what they're trying to say is Young Thug actually paid for the car to be rented at the Hertz car rental place, and that car was used to murder someone, and basically that's why he's on trial. Now another thing they're trying to bring up is the Lil Wayne tour bus shooting in 2015, saying that, Lil Wayne called Thug gay, and Thug was mad about it, so when he came to Atlanta, he got him hit up. Now, Lori did a really good job debunking and saying Young Thug wasn't even in Atlanta when it happened, and he's not the type of person to do that because, even though there are beefs in the rap game, it's not that serious.
April 26th, 2015. Jeffrey is touring. He is performing. He's in Louisiana. Lil Wayne, his idol, Jeffrey idolized him, came out against Jeffrey, called him gay. Jeffrey did a promotional social media release. There's people with guns right inside him, and Jeffrey saying, come to this concert, we'll see what happens, come on to the concert. Jeffrey was told to do that video and release by his management team. Because when Lil Wayne said, don't listen to his music, that impacts him. Lil Wayne is bigger than Jeffrey Williams at that time. So this creates interest in fans. You will learn that this is part of being involved in hip-hop or rap. There's all these battles going across social media. It generates interest, much like the NFL have rivalries with the Saints and the Falcons, and how much they hate each other. It is generating advertising. Jeffrey is in Louisiana. Here in Atlanta, Lil Wayne has a tour bus, and he performs a concert, and his tour bus was fired and struck. There's zero evidence Jeffrey's involved. Zero.
It's only been a couple days of trial, and so many wild events and literature have been brought to our attention to the great Young Thug. So my question is, how long do you think this trial will last? And do you think Young Thug will beat the case, or the prosecutors will do all it takes for him to get a conviction?